So I'm not going to lie, I really struggled to decide whether or not I wanted to make this video because I think a lot of us kind of knew going into the 2025 AFL draft that it was one of the weaker drafts that we'd ever seen, and pretty much anyone could go anywhere. And I think that is a lot of what we saw from the second round and onwards, like guys like Oliver Reeves, who I had in, I think it was the top 20, top 15 of my mock draft. You had a guy like him not even get drafted in the national draft. And then a bunch of different blokes who were ranked 70 to 100 all get drafted. And that is really because I think every single club had a different read on each and every single one of the players and where they, of course, had them ranked. And Richmond weren't any different to this. You know, they had Cumming and Grill, who were both ranked in the top 11. They took them at 7 and 8, so that wasn't a surprise by any means. But as a Richmond fan, I was very, very surprised when I saw who the Tigers decided to select with the next couple of picks, because at pick 31, the Richmond Football Club would go on to select Zane Peucker, a bloke who was ranked, I think, 91st in the draft. And the Tigers took him at 31. It was very, very unexpected, and a lot of people don't really know anything about Zane Peucker, or even how you pronounce his name. I'm just going off how they pronounced it on draft night and how I think I've heard it pronounced before. The thing is, this is a guy who Richmond took at 31, and even though he was ranked at 91, it was very clear he must have had some interest, because it seemed like there were a couple teams really looking for a small forward at that mark. The Tigers not only took a small forward here, but they took a guy who has predominantly been a midfield throughout his career. In fact, he was actually a midfielder until the champs, where it was suggested he actually played forward. And I do wonder if this was because of his height. You know, there aren't too many midfielders in today's day who are under 180 centimeters, which is really interesting considering that was the talk at one stage. You had so many elite players under 180, like a Dion Prestia, who dominated for years. But a guy like Zane Peucker has the ability to play midfield, but also the ability to play forward, and the Tigers have now selected him. So I thought it'd be fun in today's video if we actually kind of went over the players that the Tigers have decided to take here in the second round. You know, what are they about? All of the above, because there's a lot of confusion going around and not a lot of people know much about them. So it does say, and this is by Richmond's website itself, that Richmond has selected Woodfield West Torrens forward midfielder Zane Peucker with its third selection, number 31 overall at this year's AFL draft. Peucker was a dominant force for the Eagles under 18 this year, averaging 25 disposals and a goal a half a game on 5.5 score involvements per game as well. Elite numbers. Goes on to say the damaging forward half player was particularly prolific late in the year, with 34 disposals and 2 goals in a narrow loss to West Adelaide in round 14, and 31 touches and 3 majors the following week against Norwood. Peucker also booted a goal in every game he played for the National Championship winning South Australia, where he was a teammate of fellow Richmond draftee Sam Cumming, which is really, really impressive. A goal a game for a small forward in the AFL it's not easy. I think people really underestimated how Jason Castagna was able to do that for all those years. And then you watch Richmond small forwards these days, and it's like freaking Ryan Mansell or Steely Green have to give their left nut up sometimes to be able to get a goal. But Richmond National Recruiting Manager Reece Gershon said that Peucker was a player with a great feel for the game and was strong in the contest. Zane has speed and power and consistently impacted games as both the midfielder and forward throughout the season. He's one of the youngest players in this year's draft, given that he was born in December, and we feel he has a lot of development left in him. We're excited to welcome Zane and his family to Tigerland, and know his father will be particularly over the moon as he is a one-eyed Richmond supporter, which is awesome. Peucker 17 stands at 179 centimeters tall. His community club is Port District. So, if you notice a little thing that the Tigers did throughout this draft is every single player they selected has the ability to play midfield and forward, which is extremely important in today's AFL. Like, I feel like the only one who might not be able to is Sam Grill, but offensively he's really good, and he's probably more of a halfback midfielder, or midfield halfback. But I've seen this guy push down there, and he can do it, man. Like, it's crazy watching this. I think point of emphasis for the Tigers draft was having players who can rotate in the midfield and forward, or just players who can rotate overall. But also, every single one of the players that they selected happens to be pretty quick. You know, Sam Grill is supposed to be the speedster of the draft class. Peucker here seems to be really, really quick when you do go on to watch his highlights. Small forward and come in and play midfield. I mean, already looks more versatile than what the Tigers already have at small forward, other than Seth Campbell. Really, really promising. But the other guy they took here was Noah Roberts-Thomson. And when I saw his name announced, I nearly did a backflip over my chair. I thought we selected a father-son here from a different club, and it was not. It says that Richmond has selected Noah Roberts-Thomson with its 4th selection, 54 overall at this year's AFL draft. The pacey midfielder / forward from Sturt will join his South Australian teammates Sam Cumming and Zane Peucker at the club next year, after the Tigers picked both up with earlier selections. Affectionately known as NRT, Roberts-Thomson featured prominently in the draft combine 20-meter sprint and agility screening. Roberts-Thomson averaged 23 disposals and booted 17 goals at CNFL level this season. Richmond National Recruiting Manager Reece Gershon said that Roberts-Thomson's speed, power, and terrific work ethic were the backbone of his game. Noah had a strong and consistent season for Sturt and South Australia, he added. He's a team-first player who played an important role as a forward for South Australia in their National Championships winning team, where he averaged 6.3 score involvements per game. Noah is a tough competitor who played out the season with a broken finger, highlighting his grit and character. We are thrilled to welcome Noah and his family to Tigerland. The club traded out its future 2026 5th round pick to receive 54 from Gold Coast. Roberts-Thomson is the cousin of former Swans dual premiership player Lewis Roberts-Thomson. There you go. I mean, trading out a 5th, basically like pick 120 or whatever, that don't count, bro. that literally doesn't count at all. So not like we're really missing out on anything there at all. But the thing is, when I look at this, I feel like the Tigers have really, really overhauled their midfield and forward line in this draft. You know, they brought in Sam Grill, who will probably start off as a halfback, but eventually go into the midfield and add pace. They brought in Sam Cumming, who I think will immediately play midfield and forward. And then they decided to go and take 2 guys here who can both play midfield and both play forward. And both of them seem to be able to play like that small forward role. You know, I think Pike is more of that small forward at 179, while Thompson's about 181. But that doesn't mean he can't play the role. And when I look at Richmond's small forwards, I do think they need desperate help there, because there are players on the Richmond team that I don't think are the future. Now, Seth Campbell, I think, will be a future small forward for Richmond. There is no doubt about that. I think he's a gun, and he's only going to get better. You guys know my thoughts and opinions on Ryan Mansell. I'm not a Ryan Mansell fan. There's not many Richmond players I've kind of disliked over my time. Unfortunately, I just really don't rate Ryan Mansell that much at all. And I don't think he is the future. I've spoken a lot about it. I don't want to sound like a hater, but I'm just not a Ryan Mansell fan. I think he struggles to hit the scoreboard. I think his pressure can sometimes be inconsistent, even though when he does lay pressure, it's a pretty crazy effort. I don't know. He's also not, I don't know. His burst can sometimes, I don't want to sound too much of a hater. I'm going to stop myself because, yeah, I'm just not the biggest Ryan Mansell fan. Steely Green, I don't think really has it in him. He's not overall quick for a guy who's 175. Maurice Rioli just can't hit the scoreboard, and I know he's a fan favorite, and I love his pressure. I think his pressure is one of the best in the game. I just don't know about his ability to hit the goals, and you need to be able to do both. So I don't know when it does come to that. But then you've got the only other one really in the wings is like Jasper Olga. And Jasper Olga actually looks okay. I think Jasper Olga could be a good player. But yet again, every AFL team has like 3 small forwards now. And so far, I've only named one like lock, and that's Seth Campbell. I'm not too confident on the other 3, and we haven't seen enough on Jasper Olga just yet, even though I think he could be a player. So that's probably why they took Peucker here. They maybe envision him being that. It's also why Thompson, he might be able to play that role, but also as a guy who can rotate through the midfield. Thing is as well, as mentioned, other than Campbell, none of those other small forwards can rotate through the midfield, and that's exactly what these 2 boys look like they're going to be able to do. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm overall kind of happy with these picks. I don't know, it's not like I watched a whole lot of them compared to some of the other guys I thought the Tigers may have taken. So I won't say that I am the biggest fan, because I just don't know. But I think from the sounds of it, sounds like these boys are good, and I really trust everything that Richmond do. And I love the management, the list management, the recruiting management. It all is really good at Tigerland, and I mean, we have the history to prove it's been pretty good. So of course, I'd very much like to hear all your thoughts and opinions on this down below. Do you guys like what Richmond did in the 2025 AFL draft, or do you guys not? Subscribe to the channel for the latest AFL content news. My gaming/movie channel will also be linked down below. Go check that out. And go give my Instagram a follow if you haven't already, which will also be getting linked down below. But as I was saying, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.